There we go. I can see the recording has gone on, which is good. Red light. Well, good afternoon. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us here today. I'm Tom Perry. I'm the founder and CEO of Sherpa. I'm going to be hosting you today from a rather dark and wintry UK. So wherever you are, join. Yes, thank you, Michelle. The same. I am delighted you can be with us. We wanted to put on a short webinar today around the importance of community in the channel ecosystem. Sherpa, as some of you will be aware, hopefully is a channel agency working in the partnership alliances in the ecosystem space, and we're very lucky to be able to put this on for you today. And I am doubly lucky because I am joined by two esteemed guests, and I will let them introduce themselves in a minute. I will just put up one slide around who we're talking to today, if that's okay. Just bear with me. And it is my very great pleasure to introduce Michelle Goodall, who is the Chief Marketing Officer of Guild. I'm going to let Michelle introduce herself in a minute and tell her, let you know about her experience and what she'll be talking about today. And also Trevor Burnett, who joins us from one of Sherpa's strategic partners, which is Impartner, a PRM platform, who have a very vibrant community. So we've got some subject matter expertise on the wider community environment from Michelle, and there's a real live example from Trevor. So welcome to both of you, and perhaps we can ask you just to say hi to our panelists.
Hi everybody, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, hey everyone, it's a pleasure to be here.
And Trevor, you join us from
Utah and across the pond.
Yeah, there we go. So early morning for Trevor, and probably snowy in Utah, I think, at the moment. Is that right?
It will be this week, but not yet. Yes.
Okay. Well, there we go. Good stuff. All right. So I think perhaps Michelle, could I ask you just to give us the 2 minutes on your background, please? I think it's super relevant to what we're trying to discuss today, and then Trevor, maybe you can talk about your role at Impartner as well.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Tom. So hello everybody. You've probably seen me pop up time to time in various Guild groups and communities, and also in social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. My name is Michelle Goodall. I'm the CMO of Guild, which is a professional networking and community platform. I think the difference between Guild and a lot of community platforms is that it has an underlying network. So a little bit like LinkedIn, you can make connections, you can collaborate with people, you can have and build your own professional network, but also belong to various groups and communities, such as the channel marketing community, which we're actually hosting in today. So my background, and I was just speaking to the guys before we came on here, I grew my career through social media as a real specialist. I mean, I've always been sort of a pie-shaped marketer, but as a specialist in community ahead of social media. So I launched a number of different communities as a consultant, working in a very sort of far-reaching and further ahead than other people within the PR and comms industry. It was an agency called Lexus PR, and we launched things like Gov's Campaigns for Beauty's first community, which was actually a web forum. I've launched things like eConsultancy's web forum community, communities on things like Second Life, bulletin boards, Usenet, and I go way back, sort of 25 plus years, around helping brands and organizations in B2B, B2C, across academia, across technology, financial services, media, charities, pretty much every sector I've worked in, to help identify where their audiences are and where they need to create and establish various communities, whether they're public or whether they're closed and private. So clients have included people like the V&A Museum, Multiple Sclerosis Society, Direct Line, Adobe, Coca-Cola, Dove, as I've said before, London 2012, actually worked on them as a consultant way back in the days as well. So for me, community shouldn't be conflated with social media. I think you potentially can create communities on social media, but it's quite difficult because it's always rented land. And I'm sure that we'll talk about that in some detail. But really, I'm a community person first. I'm a communicator and a marketeer, and I advocate for any brand and any organization, regardless of industry and sector, to think really hard and to define this term community and to develop some serious strategies that underpin everything in your organization.
That's excellent. Thank you very much, Michelle. And now, Trevor, could I just ask you for the 2 minutes on your background and your role in the community side of things at Impartner?
Yeah, so I've been working at what is now Impartner for around 17 years, over 2 stints, and we started as a digital marketing company back when I joined in early 2004. But even with that, we had customers with a need to build a partner portal. So a bit organically grew into this space when there wasn't one yet, of a cloud-based portal so you could manage your partner community. And historically, it was, well, partners are competitive with each other, and we didn't want a lot of collaboration going on. But that's changed with the new partner ecosystem approach, and there's a lot of influencers and different partner types that are involved in the sales cycle. So the technology is just starting to change and be able to support that a lot better. But over those years, I've had the great pleasure of, not only do we work in the channel, and that's who I work with all of our customers, and I've done many different roles within sales and marketing, and even on the development side throughout the years. But also we've built out our own partner community, like the Sherpa group. So we have all these great partners that we're working with, and these wonderful minds of what are the needs of the channel, what are the needs of the community. And so I've been able to grow a great amount of knowledge and understanding of what everyone needs today, and what the changing ecosystem looks like, and what it looks like in the future.
Good stuff. Well, thank you very much for that, Trevor and Michelle. And hopefully we've managed to find a blend of real hard experience running communities, and then some definite best practice from Michelle running and seeing a lot of communities and a wide experience. So I think I'd like to get us started off just with a couple of observations from ourselves. Sherpa works with a large number of technology enterprises, global organizations who have seen the importance of community, and Trevor is working for a company that supports all those ambitions. And I think it's fair to say that we see a well-run, well-structured community impacting on every facet of a technology company's go-to-market: sales, marketing, product development, customer success, even finance, which may not appear immediately obvious. But I think it's fair to say that community can be at the center of new go-to-markets. And when we start talking about ecosystems that actually take technology to solutions to market, it's important to understand that role that community can play. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We've got 4 questions we're going to run through, and hopefully they give you some insight into the importance of a well-structured and community. So maybe Michelle, could I come to you first, please, if I may? And communities, it's not a completely new initiative. It's certainly not. But what's the last 2 years meant for organizations, and why community now?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, because there's been a number of different things. I mean, first of all, the pandemic. I mean, that's been the lever of really rapid digital transformation. There's nothing like a global crisis to really focus on what matters, and actually what matters for many people, and this is not just brands and organizations, but individuals, is human connectivity, actually not feeling like you're alone. And one of the things about community is that there's no I in community. I know that sounds really trite, but a community is essentially a collective of people who are trying to achieve something collectively together. Now, that may not always necessarily kind of fit with your typical kind of like channel marketing plan. And, as Trevor was saying earlier, maybe traditionally people weren't put together because there was this sense of we, it was about a sense of I. But actually, I think the pandemic really has accelerated not just this sense of actually I'm better off if I'm part of something, a collective, but also it really plays to that real human need for connectivity. And when we lost things like events, when we lost get-togethers or meals or just traveling with each other, I think that was a massive lever. There are other huge kind of macro environmental features and things that have really made community a part of people's thinking. I mean, things like the creator economy and the passion economy, people being able to take something that they're just interested in and then actually creating their own space. Excuse me, my ear is just falling out. That's another huge lever. People being able to make money out of pulling people together and talking about topics and subjects that enable them to hold down multiple kind of careers as well. Edelman's trust barometer. The simple fact is, over the last decade, we're losing trust in media, politicians, and also corporates as well. And we're likely to trust people like ourselves. Where are we likely to trust and find other people like ourselves? On social media, influencers, and also in community as well. So there are many, many forces of change. And actually what we see in the world of technology as well, another real lever of community is actually people who have created communities. The tech brands have come along. For example, Bevy bought CMX. There are many other, big technology brands who've just gone, wow, there's a really brilliant community of 20,000 people over there who are my prospective buyers or my prospective ambassadors. Why don't I just, spend £500,000 or £2 million on buying that community? So all of these things kind of coming together has meant that community is really at the forefront of people's thinking. And again, I'm sure that we'll explore this, but I think there is a difference between a network and also a community as well.
Yeah, if I can chime in there, Tom. So,
thank you very much for. Yeah, Trevor, please crack on. Sorry,
that delay got me there. Yeah, so just to add on to what Michelle was saying, I agree that there were some trends already happening, and the pandemic just absolutely accelerated those in many ways. Right there, I didn't do a whole lot of video conferences before then. It was kind of creeping in there. But now that's the standard, right? And so with that, as I was saying in my intro, it used to be one, maybe two partners that you would have involved on any given deal. So there wasn't as much of a need of a community. It was more just managing that network. And now in PartnerCon, our user conference that we had a couple of weeks ago, I heard one of our analysts saying that there's upwards of 7 different partners involved in a single deal. So the need to give attribution to each of those partners and have them be able to collaborate and be more of a working together community has really accelerated in importance. So not only be able to handle that from that community standpoint, but have the technology that can be able to do that at scale.
I think there definitely are many more factors as well. We talk about economic moats. Communities give you reputational moats. There's the decline in cookie data, the ability to be able to collect first-party data, zero-party data. All of these things from a marketer's perspective are huge reasons for investing in community. And then just simple things like thought leadership, the ability to be able to take insights from a community, the proximity with your customers, with your prospects, with your channel. I think the closeness and the proximity is really the most important thing, and to be able to scale that globally. And again, the pandemic really was the big lever as far as that was concerned.
Yeah, no, and thank you both for the insight. I think I'd add to the points you've made and said, and just build on Trevor's point that a lot of technology used to get sold, transacted in a straight line from that big producer like a Microsoft through a distribution layer, through some partners out into customers like everybody on this call, and that was very linear. The information flowed probably one way with some feedback loops, and it was quite traditional. I think now it's not immediately obvious in a community, certainly in technology or an ecosystem in technology, where the information resides. You've got vertical specializations in partners, you've got technical specializations in the originating vendor, you've got, as Trevor said, influencers, you've got agents, you've got people who only do services, ones who only do sales and marketing, and we've got this kind of increase in the number of partners where 3 levels, let's go to market, we all understood where we were. It's become more complex, and that's why at the heart of it you can have any type of partner in your community. It doesn't just and we're seeing you certainly don't segregate into different types of partner when you have a community. Our own group here, channel leaders, we have people from all walks of the technology spectrum, and it's great to see. And as you say, the information is collective. It doesn't reside in the most obvious places, so you kind of have to engage with that community to draw out of it what you want, and I think that's the ecosystem and the tech part of this. But Trevor, just maybe I'll come back to you. I think the Impartner community has been around a few years. What's the summary of it? What does it look like? Numbers and people and engagement.
Yeah, I guess we have 2 different types of communities. We're in the unique position of, yes, we have our own partner community of analysts and consultants and those channel experts like you, Tom, that we talk to, and we do advisory boards and collect those minds and talk about different strategies, like what should we be doing differently, or what are the different trends that are happening. And then we also have our customer community that's full of amazing leading technologies and leading companies of all different verticals, and getting the channel chiefs from select top companies that we've seen that have a lot of success, and picking their brains in an advisory board, and getting that voice of the customer and voice of the channel from those top minds. So bringing those 2 different types of perspectives and communities has really helped us drive our roadmap of what the technology should look like. Right, because the technology is usually behind the trends, right? You're not building something before somebody's going to use it. You build it once it's going to be used and helpful for somebody, and unless you have just money to spend on things that people aren't going to use quite yet, right? So we're trailing a little bit behind of, okay, there's this new trend of ecosystem, let's have more lead attribution. So the technology is starting to catch up with that, and we're fortunate enough with that foresight of having these communities and consultants talking with us that we're able to be ahead of those trends and make it so that people can have that tech as soon as possible once they're actually adopting these things.
Yeah, good stuff. And I know that Impartner Nation is a vibrant community. So I think that I'd like to just maybe we've got Trevor here who's got his own community. We've got our channel leaders, and I know, as does Ruth, who's on the call with us from Sherpa here today, we know that there are stages to getting your community off the ground and making it the valuable asset that it's become, and it takes a bit of time. Michelle, we talk about community life cycle. That what do you need to do? Maybe can I throw that one over to you and say, if somebody's joining us today and they're thinking, I'm a up and coming technology company, I've got a channel, I know I need to do community, where do they start?
Okay, so you start with, what are your objectives? What do you want to try and achieve? And actually there's 2 schools of thought really in community. There's the MVC approach to community, which is just do it. Just set something up, give it a go, state what your purpose of your community is, decide who you're going to invite in, and allow the community to build itself with some steering, with some help, with some support. The one thing I would say that people always underestimate is the value of somebody not just taking charge as a senior stakeholder, but actually having a community manager, somebody who can join the dots, onboard people, make sure that they're getting a good experience, that they know where to go, they feel comfortable to kind of ask questions, etc. So that MVC approach is advocated by, I think, a lot of people who just go, stop thinking about it. Broadly, you know what your objectives are for channel marketing, for product marketing, for field marketing, or whatever else, whatever your kind of ecosystem looks like. Just go ahead and do it, but do it and build it with a cohort of people who are going to create success, and then you build that out to many more people. And I know in channel you might even have maybe 5 or even 10 really super concierge type clients and customers, in which case go ahead and do it really quickly as well. The other school of thought is to really sit down and go through a process which is not just community but communities. Who are my different audiences? Who are my different stakeholders, internally and externally? I was at a conference last week where somebody from Ericsson beautifully mapped out all the different stakeholders internally and externally in the organization, and then mapped all of the different channels, all of the different places and spaces where social sat, where community sat. And the bit that was missing for me was the channel piece. And I was sitting there going, this is Ericsson. This should be absolutely brilliant. So apologies if anybody from here is from Ericsson, but I asked the question and actually that bit had been kind of left out. So I believe that if you're going to go down that route, you do it for the entire organization and not just a specific element of it, because communities, that taxonomy of communities is a really, really important approach, which is, what are we trying to achieve here? For this group, for this audience, for these set of stakeholders, what's the most important thing? And also the other thing that I want to say is communities don't get built overnight. So Tom, quite graciously, you said you've been doing this for 2 years. You could have easily given up after 6 months and just gone, nah. Communities are not campaigns. They really aren't tactics. It's a discipline, and it's a discipline that enables you to build something with a group of people, to create that collective sense of we. And it is an art and it is a science. So either go down that route, which is MVC, just broadly map it out, say that this is what success looks like, and then go ahead and do it, and then feel it over a period of time. Make sure that you think about the digital community and also things like events, in-person stuff to keep those touch points going. And the other side of the coin is really detailed kind of planning across multiple stakeholders and audiences in your organization. It depends. As I say, I've launched probably upwards of 1,000 communities in the 25 years that I've been doing this, and no single community is the same. You have to think in very different ways for objectives, audience, resource, time, what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know the journey that we've been on, and I think there's a penny drop moment, or you feel like you've pushed enough, and then people engage, and it becomes the value sort of so multiplies tenfold when you get your community members to start living and asking the questions and seeing the value in it as well, which I think is really, really important. They can pose that question that they might not ask of the organization. They'll ask their peers. And I think that's what we've seen been really beneficial with channel leaders.
It takes time. It takes time to build that trust, not just trust in the community, but trust in you, trust in the platform, all of these different things. And what I would say as a marketer, I have to do many things, not just community. Community for me is aligned to brand. It takes time, but the value that you get from community is like brand. It's completely tangible. It's an economic kind of element of your organization, and it's hugely valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned, I think earlier, there's been some acquisition of communities by big media companies who see the value in that kind of more neutral set of potential customers and an outlet for their services. And And maybe I can bring it back to you, Trevor, if I may. We in our space, Trevor and I, we're in the channel partnership alliances space, and the big talk at the moment is of ecosystems and that more concentric go-to-market for lots of tech companies. Trevor, with that kind of lens, what's the future for the Impartner community? Because as you said, it does great jobs on client and analyst and product marketing levels. What do you think that next sort of 12 months looks like?
Yeah, I don't want to give away our secret sauce too much,
no,
but yeah,
of course not. No.
Yeah, the idea though is you're right. We've taken a step back and go, okay, let's think a little bit outside the box. What is it that is going to be a differentiator, right? Because every vendor is building their community. It's competitive for the mind share of the partners. And then, the influencers in there, and how do you capture their attention and give them the right attribution, give them the right motivations, rewards, etc. So we are taking the approach of let's make it all about the partner experience, make it so that you have a competitive advantage. And like Michelle was saying, you need to give them a reason to want to join your community and be an active member versus any other option they have available to them. So that starts at the portal approach. Instead of maybe having, I have to log into 7 different vendor portals, we're thinking it'd be nice to have more of a centralized approach and have it a lot more connected. Log into a single place and you have access to all your portals for your vendors. So that's an idea of having a single pane of glass is something in the works. And also marketplaces are a big thing. Being able to market yourself as a partner through different marketplaces, and conversely have a vendor being able to market through marketplaces and connecting those two. So a lot of being able to make it so that vendors can market themselves to the partner community. I'm in the security space. What are similar partners that maybe I don't have already that I should be paying attention to, and vice versa. I'm a partner that works well with security companies. I know a lot about that. What are the vendors that I should be working with, and how can I connect them easily, and really bring those options together. And may the strongest community win, essentially, in that case. But having the type of tools, as Michelle was saying, if you're just starting out and growing this and wanting to build your community, the most common thing I see is this manual approach that really doesn't scale. And so, yes, I'm a little biased on the technology side, but I've just seen so much success when people have the idea of, okay, this is our initiative. We want to build a community. We don't want to just stay with 5 partners. We really want to build and grow this thing, and being able to scale immediately versus ripping and changing technologies and having one process over the other. It just makes it a smoother growth approach. If you start off on the right foot, go with a platform or technology that will scale and grow with you and right size at every step of your maturity, is a really great way. I've seen a lot of success of people just doing it that way versus trying to do baby steps and manual, and not really starting out on the right foot and giving a bad experience before they fix it along the road.
Yeah, and I think we're going back to Michelle's option 1. Make a start and learn as you go, and certainly that's the route a company like Sherpa took with this. So maybe we can start rounding now. So we've done a little bit of future looking with Trevor, but Michelle, maybe I can come back to you if I may. And you're getting, well-established communities have this sort of barometer of sentiment and information and analysis from, I'd imagine, hugely positive most of the time to probably some that isn't that positive. And with communities, do you have to be ready for some of the negative?
Yeah, totally. It's the same. Right. Communities are analogous to events. You never know what's going to happen. Okay. You can do everything in your power to choose the right venue, to choose the right speakers, to have the right stimulus, offer the right networking opportunities, all of these different things. Make sure the coffee is blended, there's oat milk, all of these things. You can create the best experience. However, you almost always must plan for the very, very worst. So this where it kind of comes down to individuals and also resourcing as well. People who manage communities, host communities, moderate communities, etc. You are dealing with individuals and people who can have really bad days, or they can have problems with the technology, or a big deal's fallen through, or something has happened. You've got to be able to kind of simulate, well, what would happen in those very worst of situations. So, again, I'm from a background where actually you can blend things like crisis communications, issues management, reputational risk, all of these things. And if you haven't thought about those, even with your MVC or minimal viable kind of community over here, then you're doing yourself a disservice. Now, what I would say is I'm kind of painting a picture of doom and gloom. The reality is most people play nicely in communities, and most people play nicely in communities because, number one, they either know each other. Number two, in professional communities, they have a professional persona, and they don't necessarily want to air their dirty laundry out in public as well. But you're very unlikely to have a real kind of reputational clangor. But you should do some kind of profiling and some strategic work in order to be able to say, if this happens, what's the chain of command? How do we triage this? As you would with any other element of marketing and communications.
No, great points, and I think be ready for everything. We've had minimal, and I think we've had some tough questions posed in channel leaders. We really have, and that community of around 260 senior channel and marketing people we deliberately started at senior level will voice their opinions, and we're glad they do. But it's the double thumbs up from Michelle, but. I think it's been invaluable in taking the pulse and the heartbeat of the sector we're in. We're a specialist agency, and we need deep sector knowledge. And the channel leaders community on Guild has really driven that for us. So I think great inputs. Thank you very much, both of you. Maybe I could ask you both just to kind of bring us towards the end of our time together, and Trevor, maybe I'll throw it to you first, and say, we understand the importance of community. We've talked a little bit about the future. What's the kind of summary from you? You lead product at a very big company, right? What does that community role look like for you?
Yeah, I think it's an important initiative. You just need internal buy-in is the biggest piece, and then go out and give it a shot, right? There's plenty of resources. You can talk here on Channel Leaders, ask for advice of other great minds. Don't try to reinvent the wheel yourself. There's a lot of resources out there of people that have been through it, and you don't have to learn by the school of hard knocks, right? Leverage this community of the channel leaders, and leverage, technologies like our own, of course, that can give those best practices built in, so you're not trying to figure it out on your own. You're building your own community within your channel partners or whatever that your community is built of, and just as you'd want them to leverage your services, I think the best thing you can do is leverage all the knowledge that's out there already to help jumpstart you.
No, absolutely good stuff, and it's a very collaborative exercise. I think that's what I take away from that. And Michelle, same kind of question to you, if I may.
I'm just going to go with the Nike swoosh and say, just do it. Really, just do it, because your peers are doing it. And if you don't do it, then somebody else in your organisation will do. And then channel will be a part of their strategy. And it's much better if it actually comes from you and your particular area of expertise as well, and that you create a collaborative approach within the whole of the organisation. And you can do that, if you're tens of thousands of people in your organisation, or if you have a global marketing team, actually it takes somebody to do it, to lead it, to kind of pull it together. But actually, if you just do it, then you can see relatively quickly the things that you need to put in place in order to be able to make things work. And I'm a slightly different school of thought than you, Trevor. I think that there are ways and methods of getting a community up and running, that you can actually do it on something as simple as an email listserv. I wouldn't want people to do that now that there are tools and platforms such as Guild or Circle or Mighty Networks, etc., that can offer you the opportunity to create closed communities. I think if you want to go for something very specific to channel, then definitely look at the technologies that are there. But your technology should never ever determine your approach or your strategy. Always think about the solution that you're looking for, the nuts that you're trying to crack, what your objectives are, what looks like success, and ultimately what's going to keep you in a job for the next 10 years and give you a promotion and allow you to retire early. And community is part of that.
Yeah, I know. And I think, thank you both for your summaries. I think where we've got to in the channel and the partner, the ecosystem space that we're now in, and we find ourselves having to develop our skills and go to market differently, is that I think community is a central plank. It's iterative, it's informational, it does a number of jobs for technology organizations. Impartner is the biggest PRM company in the world. They do an amazing job of managing that partner community on their tech, but aligned to that is this community where they might not be asked the right questions. There is that supporting mechanism, and I think it's so important. As Trevor, go back to the point you made. You may have 6 or 7 companies involved in selling a piece of technology these days because of its complexity, how it interfaces into organizations. And I think that more collegiate, collaborative approach that comes from community is absolutely vital. And we're working with a couple of, kind of big vendors who you thought, technology companies who you thought might have been on the community journey already, but they're just getting going. And that's why I think it's interesting to start about how you talk about how you start, and as you say, just do it, and that's our take on it. It's a core part of any go-to-market for a tech firm, whether they be scale-ups, corporates, or the very big enterprises. And actually, we're talking this morning in the office, and the one point I'll finish with is that the partner community, the ecosystem, in tough times like we're potentially about to go through, is an incredible refuge from some of the vagaries of the market economics and the forces that you can't control. And having that vibrant, supportive network of different types of organization is absolutely vital. Michelle, did you put your hand up? You did. No? Oh, I got it. Oh, it's an applause.
I was applauding because I think it's absolutely right. It comes back to my first point, which is, one of the levers of community is actually we're very human. We do want to be together. And I think, again, the pandemic highlighted that, we can do things collectively brilliantly together. And then when we're forced apart, we just want to come back together. So, I think that's a really, really good point. And I'm relatively new and old to channel marketing and partner marketing, but I think that community is absolutely central to it. But be careful how you define it, because it isn't necessarily what a lot of people think that it is. But I'm happy to write articles and tell you what community is and what it isn't. But it's better to kind of feel that and sense that and articulate that for yourself as well.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you very much, Michelle and Trevor, for joining me here today on Guild. We are running our event on Guild in the video room of channel leaders. I hope that has been a great experience for people who've joined us. If there are any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. We can even unmute everybody, and you can ask direct. We're a relatively small group here today, so if anybody does want to put their hand up, ask a question, please do. I think you just got to unmute yourself actually and say what you need to say. So have we got anything out there? Ruth, have we had anything in on chat?
I don't believe so, Tom.
Okay.
Sorry, I was late. Oh, that's okay, Paddy. That's okay. We're actually going to record the session, so we'll let you know how to access that, and you can watch it all the way through. But thank you for joining, nevertheless.
All right. Well, look, I will say thank you very much to everyone who has joined us, wherever you may be in the world, at this mid-Atlantic event put on by Sherpa. with Trevor joining us. Thank you to the panelists. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. And we will have a summary today and the recording. The summary, if you don't want to go back through the 40 minutes we've had together, and we'll send that out to everyone. So thanks once again.